For this week's Preppin data, we're looking at Carl's favourite subject, which is NBA, and we are taking a look for each game that a team has played in the season, where would they be ranked after that game? So, what does the league table look like after each match that is played? So I hope that I got the language correct there. I'm not an NBA fan myself, but hopefully that was okay. So if we look at, for example, San Antonio Spurs, which is Carl's favourite team, then we can say that in week 1 they were ranked 12th, then they dropped to 22 after 2 of the games, and all the way through we know that at the end they were ranked 13th in the table after 82 games. So let's take a look at the data prep that goes into this visualization. So if I hop over to Tableau Prep, then we have all of the match data by month. So to input all of these, we're going to use a wildcard input. So if we click on our input step and we go to wildcard union, usually when you bring it in, it's selected on single table by default, but we select wildcard union. We leave the sheets pattern blank so that we include all, and we apply it by hitting the blue button down here. It's already been applied, so it's turned grey for me. And that gives us quite a lot of data. We get about, I think, 1,230 rows of data. And there are a couple that we can remove straight away. For example, F7, as it's called, that is just saying box office or something like that. Let me see what it says, box score. And it says that for every single row of data, so we know that we probably don't need that. And then I also removed the file path because that is also the same for every single row. So I kept everything else in because I don't know the dataset, I'm still exploring it. I'll keep my options open. So then we're going to look at calculating the winner of each match. And that's quite straightforward. We're just doing if the points in this column are bigger than the points in this column, then that means that it's the visitors that win, otherwise it's the home team that wins. So that's quite straightforward to just give us our winners field here. So if I click on Atlanta Hawks here for the first ones, for example, we can see that in this case, Atlanta Hawks had 130 against the Philadelphia 76ers, who only had 122, so they are the winners in that field. Now we're looking to order our matches per team, and for that we kind of need there to be a row per team rather than a row per match. So we do a pivot with our home neutral or visitor neutral there. We just rename this field that it creates to be team, and then we can go ahead and calculate the order of the matches. Now we know that teams don't usually play twice in the same day, so we're quite safe to order by just the date rather than making a date time out of our fields, because it's just a little bit easier to just use the preconceived date, and yeah, we can use our knowledge of what's logical in this case to determine that we don't have to do that extra work. So let's take a look at the ranking that we create by clicking on the visual editor here. So we're grouping by our teams and we are ordering by the date, and we're making sure that's in an ascending order from A to Z. So start with the lowest date and go from there. And we're doing that ranking. So each team should have the numbers 1 to 82, because as we were seeing at the start in that viz, there were 82 matches. And if I just scroll down, then you can see that we've got the numbers 1 to 82. And this distribution is nice and uniform. So that means that we have 30 rows for every single number there. So that means we have the numbers 1 to 82 for every single team because there are 30 teams. So that's good. That has worked nicely for us, and this is the order that our teams play their matches in. So now we're looking to create a running total for the wins of each for each team. So by the time they've played their 5th game, how many times have they won? That sort of thing. So to do that, we're going to create a win flag, and that is simply saying if our team field is equal to the winner field, so if they were the winner of that match they played, then give us a 1, otherwise give us a 0. And then we create an extra clean step. I just removed quite a few fields to make it easier when we're joining it back to itself, but you don't have to even do the removing the fields. You can just create a clean step, join it back to itself, and go from there. So if I take a look at the join that creates, then what we're doing is we're making sure that we're joining on the team, and then we're going to create a scaffold so that, say for example, I have my team, let's choose Atlanta Hawks, and I want for their first match there to be 1 row, for their second match there to be 2 rows, for their third match there to be 3 rows, etc. and so forth, so that then I can use an aggregate to just sum up all the wins from before. So to do that, I am using this join clause here, which is the order is greater than or equal to the order. So the order from this step here is greater than or equal to the order from this step here. And the way that I always visually check if this has worked is that I look in my win flag dataset in the join, so not this order -1, but the original order, wherever that's gone, here it is. And if it's making this kind of a shape, this kind of triangular shape, then I know that it's doing what I want it to do, where it's only having for the first match, it's only got 1 row per team. For the second match, you'll have 2 rows per team, and that's kind of making the correct distribution shape that I can see here in this triangle. So that's how I kind of work out which way around my greater than or less than sign needs to be. Then we're doing our grouping, so we're grouping on the order, we're grouping on the team, and we are summing up the win flag from this data set here, so from our right input, if you like. And that is giving us, we kind of just, again, my visual check for this was on Atlanta Hawks. In their first game, okay, they didn't win any. In their second game, they didn't win any. So in their third game, if they won, we should see a 1 there. And yes, okay, in the third game they won, and we have a value of 1. I think that when you use the win flag from this dataset that gets pulled through, then that turns into a 3. So that's definitely not what you want. So the reason that we want the win flag -1 is because that gives us all the rows of data from 1 to 3. Whereas if we were to use this win flag here, it would just have it repeated for the third match, so 1, 1, 1. So at this stage we would have a 3, and that wouldn't be at all what we were hoping for. And it wouldn't do the cumulative running total as we were hoping for. So hopefully that makes sense, but definitely play around with it yourself until it does, because I think that's the best way to learn how to do this. And finally, all that we have to do is we have to make that ranking per game, per team, so that we can see where a team stands for after each game they've played. So to do that, if I just show you my ranking here, then first of all we're using a dense rank because we want it to be the numbers 1 to 30 for each of our matches. So we're grouping it by the order, should I say, so that's the order that games are played. So then for each team's first match, after that, where do they stand, etc. and so forth. So we're doing that as a dense rank, so we have the numbers 1 to 30 for each of these weeks, if you like to refer to it as that, because there are 30 teams, so the rankings will go from 1 to 30 each week. And we're ordering it by the cumulative wins in a descending order, and we're ordering it by the team in an ascending order so that it breaks the ties. Because, for example, after the first match, most people are either going to have a 1 or a 0. It's going to be about a 50-50 split of teams. You'll either have won that first match or you won't have, and therefore we're going to have a lot of ties to break. So we need to have this second condition on our ordering by to make sure that we get the numbers 1 to 30 for each week. And then if we just check for, say, week 1, after they've played that first match, then we can see that we've got, the numbers 1 to 30 definitely highlighted. We can see again that that's a nice uniform distribution that we're seeing there. We can see that we've got numbers 1 to 30 for each after each match. So we know that we have our complete data set in order to make the visualization. So hopefully that all made sense. And I think this is a really cool challenge, really cool data prep challenge. So thanks for the challenge, Carl, and thank you everyone for watching.